So thank you to everybody for joining today. As you can see, today we'll be discussing the Sharp plasma clusters, the air purification devices. If you haven't already, you can contact your regional sales manager for price lists, and shortly you should see a very cool package that we've put together with bundling some other products, getting even more aggressive on pricing. So stay tuned for all of that. A little bit of housekeeping before we start. Maybe what I'll do is ask everybody for now just to mute their microphones, and at the end of the presentation, you are free to unmute, and we'll spend a little bit of time. We'll hang out for some questions and answers. So maybe just hold those until the end. Today, hosting the presentation, we have the Director of Consumer Solutions, Ron Manger, and John Jiju will be doing the majority of the presenting. He is our Product Manager for Consumer Solutions. So great timing on introducing this product to our print dealers. It's definitely a timely conversation to have with customers that may be looking at ways to transition safely back into office spaces. Definitely a different landscape post-COVID. So I think this is a really nice conversation starter, and maybe something a little bit more relevant than going in and trying to upgrade leases for big, production color devices in empty office spaces. So a lot of super great information. We've got the experts that will be doing all the talking. So again, feel free to jot down any questions and we'll address those all at the end. So without further ado, I will let Ron and John take over, and I will mute myself and chat with you guys at the end of the presentation.
Thank you, Tina. Good afternoon, or good morning, I guess. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I hope that everyone is in good health and keeping safe. Certainly interesting times. We're going to spend today about 30-40 minutes just going through the presentation. There's obviously a lot of information, and I'm sure that it's not really feasible to expect anyone to remember all of it, but as Tina mentioned, we put together a package that has gone out to all the regional sales managers that look after your accounts, and they would be able to share more information, including the deck if you want to reach out to Tina even after the webinar to just get a copy of it. The agenda today is going to be fairly non-difficult. We're going to really try to cover about 4 key points or 4 key sections in this presentation. As I mentioned, taking about 30-40 minutes. We're going to start with just talking about indoor air quality. We're going to phase into a Sharp difference, why Sharp is the product to address indoor air quality issues. We're going to discuss the plasma cluster lineup and seasonalities in Canada, and then we're going to jump into a summary. Afterwards, if you have any questions or comments, we're open obviously to a discussion and addressing your questions, and even post the webinar itself. If down the road you have any questions, you're more than welcome to send those questions through, whether it's through your RSM or through Tina, or even directly reach out to myself and John. We're always glad to engage and interact with all of our channel partners. So without further ado, I'll pass the baton to John, and we'll talk again in about 30-40 minutes.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Ron. Very good afternoon to all of you. Thank you for taking the time to attend this webinar. So as Ron mentioned about the agenda, we would be talking briefly about the air quality, about what Sharp is offering, our lineup, the seasonality in Canada, and we wrap up with the summary. So to start off, let's understand a little about the indoor air quality. Many of you would know that we spend a lot of time indoors, and which is almost like 80 to 90% of the time we spend indoors. And we must realize that the air quality within our homes or within the environment that we are in, whether it be our homes or whether it be the offices, needs to be a matter of consideration for us. Research has shown that the indoor air quality is up to 5 times worse than the outdoor air quality. In fact, the EPA, which is the Environmental Protection Agency based out of US, ranks indoor air quality as one of the top environmental risks to public health, and which is responsible for 50% of the illnesses that we currently have. So again, the quality of the air in our environment is very critical, and we need to be aware of what it involves. So in a closed space, there are different kind of pollutants. We have the biological pollutants, and we have the chemical pollutants. The biological pollutants are living or dead organisms, and these include all your bacteria, the virus, the fungi, the mold, dust mites, insects. All these come under biological pollutants. And chemical pollutants are all the gases and particles that come out of our appliances, combustion appliances, the tobacco smoke, your air fresheners, all the personal care products, the emissions from various building materials. So all these are come under the chemical pollutants.
So this slide really illustrates, we're not going to dwell on every single one of those little boxes, but the diagram in essence shows a typical house and lists some of the critical issues around a typical house. For example, again, mold that leads to allergic reaction, affects asthma or asthmatics, and other respiratory problems and ailments. Children, as you know, are extremely sensitive to any kind of pollutants in the air. There's a study by Canadian government and also by EPA in the US has indicated that, you know, the percentage of children that are affected or to some degree are even born with allergies are much greater than they were many, many years ago, when before the introduction of so many new pollutants into the air in our homes, both in residential as well as in offices. So again, the pollution is all around us, we just don't see it, and if we don't see it, we ignore it, or we don't necessarily address it, and that creates obviously a lot of stress on our health, which in essence also creates stress on the employers in the office because people have to take time off to get better, medical bills, etc. So, you know, you can review the slide on your own, but keep in mind again, everything that John mentioned before, biological and chemical pollutants, they're everywhere around us right now. Whether you know, we cannot really not breathe, and with that comes everything into play.
So. Based on what we saw in the previous slide, some numbers which you might not know, but then which is something which is very baffling. Most of the homes, which are like 1,400 square feet of space, they generate about 40 pounds of dust per year. And in 1 ounce of dust, you can find 40,000 dust mites. An average human inhales and exhales 11,000 liters of air per day, takes 23,000 breaths per day, and each of those breaths contain 40 to 70,000 particles of pollutants. That's a lot, that's a big number. And on top of it all, visible dust that we can see with the naked eye is only 0.01% of all the particles in the air. So even though we feel that the room is spotless and clean, there is a very high probability that it has a lot of pollutants in there.
So as you can imagine and appreciate, we all do our due diligence around our homes and we clean our homes. Depending on the type of office you have, you either have a contract with a cleaning company or there are employees on staff who actually take care of the maintenance and appearance of the office. And again, to the naked eye, as John mentioned, it looks like, everything is clean and spotless. But the reality of it is you only can see a fraction of what may be a trigger for indoor air quality, which is 0.01%. So we're talking about 1,400 square foot average home size, collecting about 40 pounds of dust per year. Now that's a home. Put that into an office environment, and if the office located, for example, somewhere in an industrial area, just like the Sharphead office, right? We have a lot more trucks, we have a lot more bustle and hustle around here with various vehicles, manufacturing, production, factories. You can probably be certain that that number is even higher than 40 pounds of dust per year per 1,400 square feet. So, you can look around your office, or you can look around the office of your clients, and you can probably guess that it's much worse sometimes in certain cases. And you can't address what you don't see unless you know that that's a problem, which presents an opportunity, again, as Tina mentioned at the onset of the conversation, opportunity for you to talk about additional value that Sharp can bring to the equation.
We find pollutants around us every season. Like there are certain seasons when you find more of certain kinds of pollutants. There are certain seasons which help certain types of pollutants to thrive. Like for example, in high humidity, it is an ideal time for mold. Viruses are active in the dry season, and pollen is a problem in the warmer months of summer. So pollutants are something that is all year around, and again, this needs to be addressed, whether it be our homes or whether it be the offices. And that is where we come up with a solution. We offer a solution from Sharp, and we are going to now see how our products or how the Sharp air purifiers can help in eliminating some of the pollutants that are in our living spaces. So Sharp has a unique technology which is patented. It's called the plasma cluster technology, and this technology, by using this technology, the air purifiers, we are able to trap even the minutest of particles. When we talk about minutest of particles, we're talking about 0.03 microns, about which we will talk later in the presentation. So to understand the technology that is used by Sharp air purifiers, it is very much similar to the cleaning process that we find in nature, in the sense that the air purifiers generate or produce positive and negative ions, and these ions attack the pollutants, break them down, and once it has done its job, they combine together and form water vapor. So the end product is a much cleaner air, and these ions, since they convert into water vapor, there is no, it does not leave behind any harmful chemicals or perfumes. So again, it's totally safe. Also, these positive and negative ions, they have the ability to travel to every corner of the room and clean the spaces in every corner. They have a much wider reach than the other traditional air purifiers.
So if I can interrupt here, and the difference clearly is in very simple. There are air purifiers in the market. People call them air purifiers. They're actually just air cleaners, if you will. They just suck air through them, through something that is called a HEPA-like or a true HEPA filter even. And basically, the technology relies on filtering whatever larger contaminant trapped in those filters. So we'll talk about the kind of filters and the quality of filters later on, but the Sharp plasma cluster, or air purifiers with plasma cluster technology, unique in a way that they have both passive and active technologies to combat air qualities. But active, I mean the plasma cluster component, which emits those positive and negative ions that John has described earlier. The passive technology is relying on filtration of air, moving air through it, through a series actually of filters, not one, but actually two or sometimes three filters, to eliminate the larger contaminants. So if you look and compare to something else in the market, you're seldomly going to find anything that is similar to it, hence the uniqueness of the product. So the plasma cluster engine, which is Sharp proprietary technology, combined with existing technology in the market, which are passive technologies of true HEPA filter.
So, like we said, the technology and the positive and negative ions that are being generated, the coverage area, all these, what they effectively do is they suppress the activity of airborne viruses. They eliminate the microbes. They attack the mold. They decompose all allergens. They act upon dust mite. They decompose and remove all the adhering odors, like even all the odors that you get stuck to your fabrics, your furniture, your carpets, on any other surface. It removes all those odors, and it also helps remove static electricity.
And it's important because static electricity is one of their key elements in maintaining the dustiness around any indoor facility, but be it at home, being at work. So obviously a number of things cause or reproduce static, but eliminating static is important because therefore when you clean and when you have a combination of an air purification with plasma cluster, you're going to see a reduction in dust, and that means reduction of contaminants will affect your health directly. Yeah, it's okay.
So, and this is a claim that that is something that we are not the only ones who are making. Independent bodies have conducted several tests in different parts of the globe, and it has been proved that Sharp air purifiers have the ability of effectively reducing viruses, bacteria, mold, and odors. So the technology is a proven one. It is very effective, and it is ideal for homes and offices. A lot of people wonder, it's the air purifier typically cleans the air, and cleaning of air is something that is not visible to us. How do we know that the machine is actually doing what it is supposed to be doing? Our air purifiers, they have color displays on them. It gives out a very good indication of the quality of the air in the surrounding area. And depending upon what the color is, it tells us at what level of cleaning it is at. So, for example, if the color on the air purifier is showing a red, it means that the air is dirty. As it transitions from red to yellow to green, it means that the cleaning process is on, and once it attains green, that means that the air is clean. Some of our models which have the humidification capability also has a blue light, which is an indication of that humidification is taking place.
So some of our higher end models, like the KC series, which we'll discuss at a later stage, have the humidity sensor. And if your tank of water is filled and you have it on an automatic setting, it will actually detect that the humidity level is low. And if it dips to below the 37%, it will activate and will start pumping humidity in the air. Now, it's not, you're not going to see it spraying water, obviously, but it's going to be a very super fine mist of humidity that will be introduced. Even if you stand right next to it, you put a hand over it, you're not going to really feel it. It's not going to get wet, but it's certainly smart enough to understand and that the room or the area where it's at requires a bit more humidification.
So continuing with humidification, the ideal humidity in the room should be between 40 to 60%, and the unit automatically senses it and adjusts the humidification accordingly. As far as how humidification works within the unit, is that there is a small water tank which is attached to the unit on the side. That water tank can be easily removed and water can be filled and put it in. And humidification happens with the help of a rotating wick. As the wick gathers the moisture from the water tank, and the air and the flowing air pushes the moisture into the surrounding area. When the humidification is not on and it is only just the air purification that is happening, the wick stands above the water level. The flowing air goes through the wick, it dries out the wick, and thereby it keeps it clean and dry, preventing the growth of mold and bacteria. Some of the other additional features that we have in our air purifiers is that it has the Energy Star rating. As you know, that air purifiers are normally used for extended periods of time, and the consumption of energy is not very high at all. It has a library quiet operation. By library quiet, it is similar to the soft rustling of leaves, and that is very ideal to be placed in the room. And even if you're trying to sleep, there is no disturbance at all.
Well, I hope you're not trying to sleep at the office, but in case you do, it will not be humming along. On the flip side, though, we have, on a serious note, we do have quite a few of those units, as you can imagine, around our own offices. You know, it does not distract. You don't hear it working. It's silent. And you don't hear them working. And actually, when John's referring to library quiet, we trademarked that feature, but in essence, it operates at below 19 or 17 decibels when it's running on low speed, up to 5 different functions or settings available to it. And that means that at 17 to 19 decibels, it truly is a lower noise than a gentle rustle of leaves. Just for cross-reference, when we're having a regular conversation, a person to person, without obviously yelling at each other, but a normal conversation, it probably is in about 35 to 40 decibels level. And so for reference purposes, right, that the noise level is completely absent from these machines.
So as Ron mentioned a little while earlier, we were talking about the filters that go in the air purifiers. There are three filters in the high-end models, and the other models, they have 2 filters. We use the True HEPA filter in our air purifiers. True HEPA is designed to trap pollutants that are as small as 0.3 microns, and they do it with up to 99.97% efficiency. So that is like, it's almost a perfect solution. It's a perfect allergen removal. So maybe Ron can explain a little bit about 0.3 microns.
Yes, I think when we're talking about microns, it's just a measure unit, and a micron is actually, 1 micron is a millionth of a meter. So 1 million of 100 centimeters. In retrospect, if you look at a fine or typical human hair is about 80 to 100 microns in size. So when we're talking about, again, a hair at 80 to 100 microns in size, but we are able to capture pollutants that are 0.03 microns in size. So that means actually that we are able to capture pollutants that are 33 times smaller than a typical or even a fine human hair. Now, pollen, we don't see pollen. We know it's out there most of the time. That's 10 to 100 microns in size. So again, can it do a good job capturing pollen? And if you think that pollen doesn't come with you when you come from outside into your office or into your house, then you obviously may want to reconsider that. But mold spores, again, we don't see them. They're in the air. It's a fact. They're 5 to 80 microns in size. And even dust mites are 0.1 to 12 microns in size. So certainly, it just gives a bit of a clarity as to how small a particle we can capture when compared to other things we consider to be small. Certainly does a good job.
So another feature of these filters is that they have a longer lifespan. Like in some cases, the filters can last up to 5 years, depending upon the amount of dust in the surrounding environment.
Now, when we're talking about the lifespan of the filter, let's be realistic about it. The rating is done on a typical usage in a home environment. I mean, the opportunity here that we are presenting is to open up the product to your clients and even to your offices, hopefully, where it's not quite a typical usage. So depending on the type of environment, the filters may need a replacement maybe a little bit sooner than 5 years. Some people replace some filters religiously every 12 months. Just like you would replace your filter, furnace filter, for example, every 60 to 90 days, right? Or sometimes it could be 30 days. It really depends on how much dust and pollution is around the facility. So what you probably want to consider is it's not just I buy and I sell a Sharp box to a customer. Think of it in the same terms as you think of the printers and multifunction devices. It's not just the sale of the product, it's the consumables. So business opportunity, probably yes. Being able to sell the filters down the road. If you have some servicers or technicians walking into the customer facility every so often, and maybe once a year, they'll also check the filters to make sure that the filters are clean. They can also, I guess, vacuum the back mesh of the air purifier, which takes all of 30 seconds. Part of the service you can provide, whether that's at cost or not, it's obviously for you to determine. But again, as far as usage, so let's not cling to the 5-year lifespan. Let's make sure that we suggest that should be replaced at the intervals based on the quality, based on the condition of the filter when you open it probably once in a while to have a look at it.
So a quick summary of what Sharp Air Purifier is all about. We have a patented technology which is very efficient. We have the true HEPA filter, which is able to clean with a 99.97% efficiency and able to eliminate pollutants up to 0.03 microns. We have a humidifier on some of the models, and all this, a combination of all this, we're able to provide a healthier environment for your home and office. We are able to address the indoor air quality concerns, and thereby we are in a position to say that we provide total air care. And it is on account of all these things that we have seen the use of this technology and Sharp Air Purifiers in various products around the world. The use of this technology has been found in more than 80 million products since 2001. It's been put to use by automakers to reduce odors inside the car. It is being put to use by appliance manufacturers who use air purification technology in the refrigerators, which helps to keep the food fresher for a long period of time.
Yeah, so I think the application is more than just consumer application. There is an obvious B2B application as well. We are supplying plasma cluster engines to multiple manufacturers. John mentioned there's 3 manufacturers, automotive manufacturers out of Japan, obviously with builds in US and Canada, who are using plasma cluster engine in their air quality system in cars. There are both Japanese as well as American household appliance companies that are incorporating plasma cluster as a substitute to your typical orange little box of Arm & Hammer that you would buy and replace every 4 weeks or so to ensure that there's no odor presence in the refrigerator with different foods in it, but also eliminates obviously the buildup of mold, and it actually keeps the products and produce fresher for a longer period of time. So technology itself has proven itself since 2001, 80 million units shipped in whatever shape, form, or factor. So
let's take a look now at the Sharp air purifier lineup. We have basically 2 series. We call it the KC series and the FP series. There are 2 models in the KC series. We have the KC850 and the KC860. These 2 models have an air purifier with true HEPA. They have a high-density plasma cluster ion generator, and these 2 models have the humidification capability. The major difference between the KC850 and KC860 is the coverage area. KC850 has a coverage area of 254 square feet, and whereas the KC860 has a coverage area of 341 square feet.
the square footage actually is it's a matter of a calculation based on AHAM standards. So it's not to say that the 254 square feet is the absolute ceiling. You can put it in a 1,000 square foot room as well. It just the rating is based on how quickly it can clear the air or the smoke actually out of a certain size room 3 times. So 254 is the ideal size. Now, we don't necessarily expect to see any smoke anywhere, but if you put it, for example, in a room that is 750 square feet, the same unit can do the job. It just will clean it probably a little bit slower based on the size, but not to say that it will be overworked and that it cannot handle the job.
Moving on to the FP series, we have one model in the FP series, which is the FPK15UW. This model was recently launched in Canada. It was actually launched last November. This model does not have the humidification capability. It is ideal for rooms up to 259 square feet, and it is ideal fit for medium to smaller spaces, and maybe a small, like a small kitchen or a small meeting room. Those kind of setups where humidification may not be necessary. So this model is a perfect fit in those spaces.
Another key difference between KC series and FP series, aside from built-in humidification, is also the fact that the FP series has a filter lifespan of up to 2 years. On KC series, the true HEPA filter as well as the odor filters are rated up to 5 years. So again, if we said that rating 5 years is dependent on the environment where it's being used, and that lifespan may be shortened based on the environment itself. Same thing would apply to FP series. So if it's rated for 2 years, might want to replace it maybe every 6 to 12 months, depending again on the typical environment where it's used.
So the next thing that we're going to discuss about is the seasonality. like I mentioned earlier, different types of pollutants thrive in different seasons. So during the springtime, there is the spring allergies. Then during the fall, there are the allergies due to fall. So basically, we have, when we say seasonality, we are talking about the need for having an air purifier in our environment throughout the year.
So again, spring allergies and hay fever, we have tree pollen, we have grass pollen, we have mold spores, and all those are kind of scattered around kind of middle of March through almost end of August. And we're talking about the fall allergies, that's ragweed pollen, which is extremely allergenic. I think BC and Ontario are probably heavily influenced by that. So August to October is kind of the period of time when you see end of August, tail of August to kind of middle to end of October, depending on the weather, presence of ragweed, fungal spores, and other contaminants. But also, again, the calendar and seasonality here includes some of the kind of retailish opportunities, like your Black Friday, Boxing Week, etc. We completely understand that that's necessarily your business line. But what you probably may want to consider is back to school period. Now, I'm sure that many of you might have customers in the education segment. So some maybe school boards, maybe schools, maybe daycares. That's something that as you approach them, I should say, to discuss either lease extension or purchase of a new product, maybe it's a good opportunity to also discuss with them, having an inexpensive but very efficient and effective solution from the same manufacturer that you're familiar with through your relationship with our MFP and document channel. Just as a thought, again, it doesn't have to be necessarily back to school timing in August. You can do it throughout the year, but just as a consideration.
So finally, to summarize, what is the reason why anybody would want to buy a sharp air purifier? There are multiple reasons why one should or one can buy a sharp air purifier. One is the brand. The Sharp brand is strong. It has a high consumer recognition, and it is known to be known for its reliability. Then there is the technology, the proprietary technology of plasma cluster that has the ability to clean the indoor air. Then the true HEPA filters, like I mentioned earlier, 99.97% efficiency rating. The library quiet operation, which does not cause any kind of distraction. Energy Star rating, which allows the unit to be on for extended periods. The stylish design of the unit. So all these factors all these factors are good reasons for owning a Sharp air purifier. So that's it from the presentation. So if anybody has any questions, we'll be more than willing to answer those.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much, John and Ron, both of you. Very informative. At this point in time, if there's anyone with questions, if you'd like to unmute your microphones, we'll hang out here for a few minutes and answer those questions. As I mentioned in the beginning, we can share this recording for you to review at a later date. So we're happy to do that, as well as the presentation, if that's of interest.
I've got a question.
Sure.
It's Meltdown from Moncton. Hang on a second. My 303 is old. My 301 is a little loud here. Hang on a second.
No worries.
Guys hear?
Yeah, we can hear you.
It's about done. Okay, good. So I don't know if I missed this. Are these typically going to be leased machines? or what's the model? What's the model in that case? And seeing as they only have obviously a certain footprint, offices would probably want multiples.
Mhm.
What's the model in terms of getting them into offices?
Well, that's up to you. So, I mean, you could purchase and then wrap into a lease if that was something you're interested in doing. Again, if you're attacking a large office space where maybe there's going to be multiple required, definitely that's a great option because you have those capabilities on the print side of leasing equipment. So this would be a great value add. I love that idea. But yeah, that would definitely be up to you. If you don't have the price list already, just reach out to your regional sales manager and that can be shared. And I think that'll give you a little bit of an understanding on the breakdown on pricing on those different models that we spoke to.
And consumables, I guess the consumables, i.e. the filters, let's say moving forward, again, is that done through, us, their portal? Like does the Sharp portal for MFP give you access to order material? I don't know. I'm just curious how that portion would work.
I think the portal is just for licensing. Maybe, I don't know, Ron and John, if you can jump in for the ordering process for the filters. I would imagine you're just submitting a PO with the part number for the filter into Sharp.
Yes, that's
Yep,
correct.
that's
So
correct.
similar process you follow with usual orders. It's just a purchase order to the Sharp Canada orders, I guess, or whatever the connection is, and then yeah, just a regular normal process. There's nothing special about it.
Thank you.
You get just a slideshow?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I'm not seeing it pop up there. Who was asking for that? Just so
Mark from Ideal Office.
Perfect.
Hi, Tina. Douglas
Hey,
here.
Douglas. How are you?
Excellent, thank you. I colored my hair just for you. I went blonde.
I love it. I would suggest something more exciting and summery, maybe like a green or a pink.
Well, we gotta stage it. It's a transition.
Fair enough.
Question. The suppresses the activity of airborne virus. You guys are very cautious not to speak of the coronavirus and its effectiveness in reducing that. You guys claim that this will remove 0.3 microns worth of particulates, correct?
Correct.
I just did a quick Google search. The coronavirus is 0.06 to 0.14 microns. So effective or not effective?
Nothing that we have any data on to support one way or another. So for me to say, based on size, yes, I can't. There has to be a formal testing conducted for me to be able to comment on that. So currently, we have no claims that it can be effective on corona.
Okay. And corona stays alive on surfaces even longer than in the air. So that becomes a moot point anyways. You'd catch it walking in the door, then breathe it, right? So we probably have to be careful how we.
Well, that's what you're exactly right, Martin. I want to make sure we don't misrepresent this at all, because I can see people running around and then it becomes a
liability
and a potential workman's compensation claims. I mean, it just layers in.
I would, if I may, I would say that this tool, if we want to kind of frame it in a COVID mind, is it's removing a whole whack of other things that are increasing our immune response, right? So now you're in theoretically slightly better shape to fight all the stuff that we can't see.
Right? I like that, Martin. That's a great perspective. Okay, I'll go with that one. All right, excellent. Well, this is very interesting. I haven't got the price list yet from Karen, or at least I don't think I have. But we're very interested in incorporating this. We're all looking for additional reasons to touch the customer as we go through a 3 to 4 year lease cycle on some of the MFPs, and so I think this is an effective layer in if we can make any margin on it.
Yeah, definitely. I think like for the perspective of this product and some other products that you'll hear about shortly, I think this is just more about relationship building and creating stickiness. And again, like as you mentioned there, Douglas, another excuse or reason to go back and talk to your customers again. You know, as well as just expanding your footprint in an office space. You're not going to run into like Xerox, you know, being able to provide the breadth of products that we have available here. So, I mean, by no means are we going to be retiring, but I think it's definitely a great value add. And again, like if you're positioning this in conjunction with upgrading multifunction devices, it could be even something that you kind of bury in the lease and just say, sign today and you get this extra products. Yeah.
Well, there's a number of our customers in downtown Calgary that operate scent-free environments where you have to sign off because there's a number of people in the office that are violently allergic to any scents that may be introduced into the environment. And so this would seem to be a very natural sell to them. Was, hey, you got a scent-free environment. Let's help you make it really scent-free.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. We find the same thing in our market space here. A lot of government offices tend to have those policies. So yeah, that's a great application right there for sure.
Cool. All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
No
See you, Dana.
Thank you.
Thanks, Douglas.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dina.
Thanks, guys.
You'll send that to me later? Hey, Tina?
Yes, Mark, definitely. I have a little note. I'll send you the presentation and the recording. And if you haven't got pricing, just let me know and I can work that out for you as well.
We got our office now. You're going to Prince George, so just wanted to get things rolling here. So
Perfect.
Yeah, look forward to that. We're to meet you in the future sometime.
Definitely, yeah. The face-to-face meeting is going to be very exciting in the future when we can all get out there and travel again. Yeah.
Well, things are opening up pretty good here right now, so seems to be here in Prince George.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we're starting to see a little bit of that here as well. So hopefully soon.
Where are you?
I'm west of Toronto, so about 30 kilometers west. I'm in Milton.
Oh, you're in Milton. Okay. I was
Yes.
just in St. Catharines, so that's why I know.
Oh, okay. Okay, perfect.
I work for Beatty's over there, so.
So you know the area then, yeah.
Yeah, know very well. Okay, fantastic. Okay, thanks for the webinar. It was good.
Yeah, thanks for joining and we'll get you all that information.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Okay, take care.